as for the gameplay, it suffers from a couple issues. First off, the tutorial needs some work. While it does a decent job at explaining most of the mechanics, there are a few times where the game led me up 9 steps, but I had to figure out the 10th and final step myself. Likewise, after completing the tutorial and getting into the game, there were a few things, again, that I had to figure out myself, such as what the keys and the diamonds are for. The keys are pretty self-explanatory in that they open things, namely chests, but diamonds? I still have no idea. Moving on to the combat, I feel as if the enemies move too fast, attack too quickly, and hit too hard. The reason I consider this a problem is because there is no upgrade system, nor do the enemies have any sort of scaling difficulty. If you collect enough coins, you can visit a shop and purchase upgrades, or if you defeat a boss, you can acquire an upgrade, but if you die, your game is over. It's a roguelike game with no form of permanent upgrades or customization aside from a handful of different clouds to pick from at the beginning of the game that have varying stats. Of course, not every game needs permanent upgrades, and maybe it's a skill issue on my end, but that doesn't change the experience I had. A couple things that weren't a skill issue though was that since the levels are randomly generated, sometimes the puzzles will be impossible to complete. One example is that I was required to have an NPC reach the top of a cliff, but there was no mushroom to jump on or plant to climb. While I hate to say fix it, as I have no game developing experience, a game with bugs like these make it impossible to complete, and if I cannot complete it, then I won't want to continue playing. So, this needs to be addressed. There's no way around that. To give credit where credit is due, however, there are 4 different modes to pick from: Explore, Adventure, Quests, and Challenges. Explore is misleading in that this is nothing more than the tutorial where you learn the mechanics. Adventure is the roguelike portion of the game where you play various levels defeating enemies until you fight a boss. Quests are just randomly generated one-off puzzle maps where you are required to get your little caveman NPC to the end of the map while also defeating enemies. This mode would be this game's bread and butter, but like I said before, it's a bit buggy and sometimes these levels cannot be completed due to the required assets not loading in due to its randomization. Lastly, challenges might be the weakest link of them all, as there are only 2 challenges in this menu. The first challenge being to water all of the plants as quickly as possible, and the second challenge requiring you to put out fires as quickly as possible. This option seems like it was forgotten about, as there are plenty of other mechanics in the game that could have challenges associated with them. However, it only has 2 challenges, which are quite similar as they both require raining on a certain area, be it a plant or fire.